All right, hello everyone, and welcome to our January career series for juniors. My name is Erin Charawati, and I am one of the career advisors in the College of Natural Sciences Career Center here at UMass. Today, we're going to talk about resumes and cover letters that get you noticed. If you have any questions, I do encourage you to put them in the chat. You can even unmute yourself. I want this to be as interactive as possible, and I want to make sure I'm answering all the questions that you have. You are also welcome to just ask questions at the end too. I will make sure we save some time for that. You can see the other two sessions we'll have over the next 2 weeks on internship hunting and networking and interviewing. In addition, we're also running career series for sophomores and juniors that you are welcome to attend regardless of the year you are here at UMass. Just letting a few more people in. Okay, just a couple bits of housekeeping. I want to encourage you, if you have not before, check out our website. That is the QR code to get you to our website. We have a lot of great career resources there, information on how to make advising appointments. Our career handbook is there, as well as information about things such as the big interview, which is a great practice session if you have interviews coming up for jobs, internships, or research. We also have a database where you can see what peers have done with internships previous and research, as well as you can see a lot of other great information there. We do have walk-ins too during the school year with career peer advisors. Generally, they have been 11 to 5. We are not 100% sure what our spring hours will be. That's a great opportunity to get a resume check or a cover letter check before, without an appointment. You can just stop in. We are in Morrill 2 on the 3rd floor. We also have a great career development handbook. You can get a paper copy if you stop into the Career Center and just ask. Otherwise, it is also online in a PDF form with a lot of great information too. Okay, so we are here to talk about resumes. And if you're starting off resumes and cover letters, but we'll start with resumes. When you're thinking about how to start off on your resume, it can sometimes be really overwhelming to just say, I don't have one, I don't know what to do, I don't have a lot of experience. Couple things, don't just limit yourself to part-time jobs or formal internships and research. There are a lot of different things that when you sit down and think about what you've done in your past, that can be really useful information on your resume. And I'll talk today about how that can go onto your resume. Think about team projects you've done. If you're a leader in any student organizations, community service that you've done. These are just a few examples of things that can show those valuable skills you have, those experiences, and showing someone that you're an important part of a team as well. These are things that employers and managers value that can be really important when you're doing your resume. Okay, one of the things you could do that I mentioned there are online certifications. Many of you probably use LinkedIn, but UMass has partnered with LinkedIn and their LinkedIn Learning program so that UMass students, faculty, and staff have unlimited free access to LinkedIn Learning. And these are online in-depth courses on subjects, ranging from creative tech tools, business skills, programming. They are not official certificates. They do not show up on your transcript. They're not anything that you can get credit for, but it's an awesome opportunity, especially something like right now over winter break, to take advantage and learn some information, some skills that you have. Teach yourself a skill, learn something new. For example, I typed in Python because I know a lot of people are hoping to learn coding skills. There are 5,000 results with the word Python in there. And you can see here just this quick example. Courses range from 2 hours to 29 hours if you want to master Python for data science. So take advantage. This is a great thing to learn skills. And this is something you can put on your resume too once you know Python, for example. It's not just programming either. Some of the other courses they have here, you can see business skills here. If you are a psychology major interested in HR as a career, there's a whole section on human resources opportunities. If you're a math major looking to kind of improve some of that accounting and finance information, there's a finance and accounting section. Take some time to look right through here. That is the website up above. You can also just Google UMass LinkedIn Learning and just log in with your UMass Net ID, and that will give you access to all of these courses online. It's a great opportunity, like I said, especially now, use your winter break, increase your skills. It's something that employers really like to see you took that initiative. Speaking of employers, when you're rating your resume, a couple things overall that you're going to take a look at. We're going to show you some sample resumes in a minute, but in general, you don't need to write a separate resume for every job you're applying to. That's overkill in most cases, but you do want to update it for different industries or roles. For example, if you are a psychology major and you are looking to go into research, you might want to focus on your research skills. But if you are also considering going into human services, you might want to focus a little bit more on your patient care, human care, maybe even childcare skills for a different industry. So keep in mind, you really want to focus on what an employer is looking for. The goal of a resume is not to get the job. No one is going to hire you off a resume. The goal of a resume is to get that interview and to get your foot in the door, so then you can then showcase your best skills and make your argument for why you are an excellent candidate for this job. So keep in mind, you want them to, they're probably going to take 30 seconds to scan it. So we do encourage you to keep it to one page. There are some exceptions. If you're applying to grad school, if you have a lot of research experience and you are applying to a pretty heavy duty research position, you may go into 2 pages. In that case, instead of 1 full page, we really encourage you to have 2 full pages instead of just a 1 page and then a little bit on the second page. That just looks a little sloppy. So in general, the reason we suggest 1 page is for that 30-second scan that employers and recruiters do. When we talk to recruiters, they're kind of 50-50 on whether, if they have a 2-page resume, and whether they even go to page 2. It's not that they won't accept a 2-page resume. It's that if they're scanning 50 resumes, they're just going to look at page 1 in most cases. So you run that risk that if you have a 2-page resume for a regular industry job, they're going to miss everything on page 2. So it's better to try and, if you can't figure out how to shorten it, you have a lot of experience, come see us, make an appointment, and we can help you really prioritize what goes on that 1-page resume. We do encourage you, though, don't completely get rid of everything. Keep a longer, like a kind of a master resume version, so that you can have all of that information at your fingertips with the dates, with the bullets there, ready to go if you want to paste it into another version of your resume. We do not have you put any hobbies or your entire life history on there. Usually by the end of your junior year, we encourage you to take high school off. There are some exceptions. If you attended a vocational high school, an international baccalaureate school, if you went to an international school, trying to think of a couple other things, if you're trying to use it as a networking tool, that's okay. There are always exceptions. But in general, by the end of junior year, employers want to see what you've done in college. Now, obviously, we are living in the COVID world, unfortunately, right now. So that has also changed things a little bit, because so many of you lost those opportunities your freshman and then sophomore year, if you're currently juniors, to do research, to do internships, to get those career exploration opportunities. So in that case, employers understand that. They are the ones who had to cancel research, who had to cancel internships and opportunities and summer positions. So in that case, I'm going to show you how to use your academics and your skills in your resume. But keep in mind that is our general recommendation. As you're starting out with your resume for the first time, absolutely include high school, include babysitting, include summer positions, any leadership roles you had in high school, extracurriculars, sports teams, etc. And as you gain more experience, though, you are going to take those older things off and just have the last couple of years. Really important to have your references available. So make sure you have someone who can vouch for you, a previous employer, a professor, someone who knows you in a professional standpoint. Ideally, you should not have any family, friends, or any personal references. However, if that's all you have, if you haven't had positions before, make sure you are very clear that this is a personal reference when you have that available. But you do not want so you do want to have your references, but you do not want to put them on your resume itself. Just have them available. If you're putting your references on your resume, then you're essentially passing out personal contact information to everyone that you're sending your resume to. And really, no one is going to ask for your references until you are a finalist or they're ready to offer you for the position. So just have them available for when they're needed. And make sure you're not stretching the truth. It's really important to be honest in your resume. If you intend to take the Python LinkedIn Learning course, or you will learn it during school, don't say that it's on don't put that as a skill. If you took Spanish in high school and you knew it really well, but then haven't done anything since and you're a junior, probably not a good idea to put that you're fluent in Spanish on there. Make sure it's something that you can back up. You never know when you will be tested on it in an interview, whether informally or even through like a formal check. Okay, so what is it that employers want to see on your resume? Really important that when you're building your resume, you are showcasing it with the skills and qualities that employers are looking for. These are things that when we survey employers every year, and when I say we, I mean the National Association of Colleges and Employers, which is the organization that career advisors belong to. These are the top 10 things that every year our employers say, this is what we want to see on a resume from students. Number one is always problem-solving skills. We just got the results back from the 2022 job outlook, and 86% of employers said that is the number one thing they want, problem-solving skills. Rounding that out, that top three are also the ability to work in a team and analytical skills. So think about what you have that showcases your problem-solving skills, your teamwork, and your analytical skills. Another thing that's really important is a strong work ethic. We're seeing more and more employers looking for that. That could be, I'm just kind of guessing here, but it could be also part of the working remotely, whether school or work. Really have to take the initiative and show that you have a strong work ethic to do the work when you are not being immediately supervised. So keep in mind that as you are building your resume, think of examples you have from your work experiences that you can put in there or talk about in the interview that showcase these skills. And obviously, ideally, these would be career-oriented, such as a research opportunity or an internship. But if not, use your classes, use outside work. Think of an example like working at Starbucks as a barista, right? That shows work ethic. It shows if you're working a lot of hours. It shows problem-solving skills. It definitely shows the ability to work as a team. So think of those things that obviously they don't necessarily have to be career-oriented. Work experience outside of your career field is just as important to show that, again, that work ethic, that reliability, that responsibility. You're showing up every day and you're working hard. So keep in mind, I will send this PowerPoint to everyone too who's here today. So you will be able to go back to these slides. But keep in mind, as you're going through, these are the types of things that employers want to see. And I'll show you in a few minutes how we're going to do that. Okay, so here is a sample basic resume. So this is the layout that you want to have your resume. I was working with a student recently who said, this is a kind of boring though. I really want to spice it up. I want to put some color. I want maybe a picture or columns. Unfortunately, this is what employers want to see. Maybe if you're in a different field, that's one thing, but for the STEM field, and that's obviously we're in the College of Natural Sciences, employers really want to see a basic black and white resume that was designed in a simple Word document or a Google Doc that you'll then submit to them as a PDF in most cases. But this is what they want to see. They want this information that's easy to read, that can be quickly scanned in 30 seconds. And I'll talk a little bit later too about resume filters that make it so important to have a simple basic template here. But the overall layout of a resume, so if you're starting from scratch, this is kind of how the best way to do it. So if you're starting from scratch, you're feeling overwhelmed, open up a blank Word document. Again, these are on our website. I'll show you that in a minute. And just start kind of mimicking this one. So start with your your name up on top, and then your contact information. You want 2 ways for them to reach you. So phone number and email address. Street address is no longer required, but it's good to have your location to show you're local. You then want your education first. And this is really important because a lot of the resume templates that we see that people pull off, off Google Docs or Microsoft Word or off the internet have experience first and then education on the bottom. And that's not what you want to do as a college student. If I were submitting my resume somewhere, I will have my education at the bottom and my experience up on top because I've been out of school for 20 years. No one cares where I went to school and what I majored in at this point. They really want to know what my work experiences have been. But for you all, your degree here at UMass is what makes you really valuable to an employer and shows that you are learning all of this really important information for your career field. So you're going to have your education up on top, University of Massachusetts Amherst, the degree that you are getting, so either a Bachelor of Science and your major, so Bachelor of Science in Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, or a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, for example. And then if you have your GPA of over 3.0, we encourage you to put your GPA on there. Your start date is not important. What is important is your graduation date. So you can see here it's May 2024. The reason for that is some people transfer in, so they may only be at UMass for 2 years. They may take 5 years. They may take 4.5 years, 3.5 years. Employers don't, it doesn't matter to employers how long you've been at UMass or you will be. What matters to them is when you're graduating. So they know if you're graduating May 2024, you're probably not looking for a full-time position. You're looking for a summer internship or something you can do part-time. Whereas if you're graduating in May 2022, you're likely looking for a full-time position. So they just want to know what your availability will be. Also under education, you can put relevant courses, and this helps employers learn more about you and what information you have learned and mastered within your academic field. You can see Amherst High School right there. If you want to put your high school on there, you can. We do go in most recent up on top, so reverse chronological order. So UMass should always come first. And then below that would be a community college or another college if you transferred, and your high school if you still want to put that on. You're then going to have your experience, and then your any activities, skills, and additional things you want to put on your resume. You can see here too that under each of these entries, we do have all the information about each job in bulleted form. And I'm going to show that in a minute. Really important and easier to read to have those in bullets rather than paragraphs when you're talking about each position and what you did there. You're also going to start each of those bullets with a action verb. These are not full sentences, they're just phrases. So you don't need periods at the end. You don't need I or any pronouns. It goes specifically, just start with that action verb to showcase the skills that you have there. This is a little bit more of an advanced resume. You can see as you get more experience going through UMass and even beyond, you'll update this with more experience. So here you can see there are more relevant courses because this person has taken more advanced courses. If you are a double major, if you've taken classes that are maybe 500 level or outside of your major, absolutely put those in if you think they're relevant. It shows that you thought outside the box, that you really expanded yourself and really tried new things. Only want to put about 4 to 6 relevant courses. However, you don't need to put everything. If they want all of your courses, they will ask for your transcript. These are just courses that kind of set yourself apart from other candidates. Another thing as you go forward and get more experience is you have the opportunity to divide your experience into different sections. And what this allows you to do is to really highlight your relevant experience while not completely removing any additional experience. And what that means is because everything, as I mentioned, goes reverse chronological order, you need to have the most recent thing on top of each section. But let's say this person is a psychology major and they did a great internship at Craig's Doors in 2020. Craig's Doors is the local homeless shelter in Amherst. And they also did a PR internship at the Chamber of Commerce in 2019. So those two things were really great experiences for their psychology field. However, they are currently working as an administrative assistant at an advertising firm, which isn't really relevant to what they want to do with their career. So instead of putting that advertising position first, because that's not what they want to do, they can put that down under additional experience. That still showcases their work ethic. It still shows that they can produce digital images, but it allows them to put the psychology information up on top. And this can be phrased in different ways. This one is phrased as relevant experience. If you are an environmental science major, you could call that environmental experience. If you are a biology major looking to go into lab work, you can call that research experience. So you can tailor your resume in any way that fits your own experiences and skills. Again, we can help you to do that. You can see up on top, that takes you to our resume section. All you have to do is go to our CNS Career Center website, scroll down a little bit and click on the resume logo. And then once you get to the resume page, you can click on the sample resumes. And we have 9 different resumes for different majors. We don't have all of our CNS majors because we have over 20 majors. The major itself doesn't matter. It just gives you a good idea of some of the sample resumes that you could use. Okay, and one thing I mentioned too is we don't use paragraphs and bullets. It's really more effective to use short bullet points. Reason for that is that going back to that 30-second skim that employers do, And if they're reading quickly, you want them to be able to see very quickly what you have done versus going back and forth and reading in a paragraph. So you can see here, these two boxes show the exact same information, but see how much easier it is to read the top one, being a TA in an intro psych course. Demonstrated responsibility, assisted students, provided aid. It showcases those skills and the values that this person added to that job while making it really quick and easy to read. The bullets show the reader why you're a good fit for the position, and it also highlights your accomplishments. Do not just cut and paste your job description. Your job description says the actions that you're supposed to do. It doesn't say what you learned or the skills that you've added there. The more specific, the better. If you can quantify something, if you can talk about using a skill, that's even better. This is a great reason too for using those bullets. This is an eye tracking study that was done that showed that when we are looking at something online, and right now in this COVID age, we are looking at everything online. Recruiters are looking at resumes online, you are submitting resumes online, you are applying online. 80% of the time, we are viewing the left-hand side of the screen on a computer. That is a crazy high number, but that also shows the importance of starting your resume with those bullets and those clear, concise action verbs, because everything on the right half of the page is much less likely to be seen as they're skimming that quickly. So if we go back a slide and look at those skills there, you can see here, if the left-hand side of the page, you're missing, right, on that bottom one, things like assisted proctoring, collecting, grading, all those key, really important action verbs are missed. So make sure you have that so that there's, as you're reading left to right, they see the left-hand side of the screen. All right. Another reason for starting with an action verb is that it shows the employer what you did instead of what you're supposed to do. So for example, this was kind of pulled out of a job description. Anytime I see duties included, responsible for, responsibilities included, I usually say just cut that out, take out that red part and start with the verb. So administered subject questionnaires. Here's that in a totally different way. It says the exact same thing, but it says that you did it, not that you were supposed to do it. So think of it this way. We've probably all been in a group project where someone didn't pull their weight and didn't do what their duties included or what they were supposed to do, right? So everyone else on the team had to scramble and do extra work to cover for that person. So just because you're supposed to administer subject questionnaires, it doesn't mean you did. This allows the potential employer or recruiter to see and to visualize you doing this. They said, wow, Erin knows how to administer questionnaires, how to collect data, and has the ability to encode test results. It's a much more effective way to show a strong resume. Okay, this is another example, and even in a career focus, if you're a camp counselor in the summer, which is a very common job to have over the summer, this says you're responsible for kids at summer camp and you were supposed to keep them safe and entertained. Okay, so that's what you did, but you could really, that doesn't say that you were a great camp counselor, right? It says you were supposed to be. So turn it around and phrase of what you think about the skills that you did, right? So if you look back and say, okay, as a camp counselor summer, I took care of 12 kids, ages 5 to 9. I created safe opportunities. I collaborated, right? I resolved and monitored camper behavioral issues. So going back to that original slide where I talked about what employers wanted to see, the number one thing they want to see are your problem solving skills. Resolved and monitored camper behavior issues. That's problem solving skills. Another one they want to see is your ability to work as a team. Here you collaborated with a camp director. So think about how, and again, I keep saying this, but we can help you do this if you're not sure how to phrase things. Think about how you can reword what you've done to showcase those skills that you have and those things that you demonstrated. If you are having trouble, these are our science resume action verbs. This is, you can go right there from the QR code. If you also go to our website and then the resumes and cover letter page on our website, you can get to the science resume action verbs. These are 500 verbs that really help you when you're searching your mind for the correct word, because you don't want to repeat a bunch of words, right? And if you're looking for another word for researched, or another word for assisted, or another word for you know, persuaded. These are great ways. They're in different versions. So communication skills, leadership, research skills, helps you to identify those actions or verbs that you're really trying to showcase. I still use this all the time when I work with students going over resumes. It's a really helpful way to really strengthen those verbs. Okay. Make sure you are using really descriptive language. Sometimes we'll see on, someone worked as a teaching assistant in the psych department. That's a really important job to have, and that's a great experience. However, people don't all know what a teaching assistant does outside of universities. So when you think about when you worked as a TA, think about the important things you did as a TA, right? So what are some of the things, the skills you have? You demonstrated your knowledge of psych. You held weekly office hours. You followed confidentiality regulations. This is a better way to put that on there to showcase what you had and to help an employer see that. And then you can make that even stronger. So add the why in there. So why did you hold office hours? Why did you have to follow confidentiality regulations? So this shows, if you think of a bullet as 30% of what you did, so holding office hours, and then 70% of it of the skills you showed, what resulted, the value you added to the employer, this makes it that much stronger. And again, helps them to see you as a really qualified candidate for the position that they're hiring for. Here's another example. If you worked as a research assistant, make sure you are putting what you did, not what the lab or the company did. So for example, that first bullet in the second section says you participated in a research study. That's great. Sometimes I'll see resumes and that's all that's in there. And I'll say, okay, so that's great that that's what that lab does. That's important information. But what do you do in the lab? What value are you adding? I'm sure you're not just sitting there all day, right? So you're following procedures, you're analyzing data, you're presenting your findings in weekly lab meetings. That shows presentation skills, reporting skills. If you're using Excel, if you're using RStudio, make sure you're putting details in there. These are the types of things that employers will not assume you're doing. They want to see step by step those skills that you have. And I do want to say, if you have any questions while I'm talking, or if something's not clear, please feel free to put those in the chat or raise your hand. I definitely want to make sure I'm answering any questions that you all have. So those are great examples if you have been a TA or you have been a research assistant. What about, I'm guessing the majority of you have not though, right? Because again, COVID, a lot of faculty members couldn't take any research assistants on. Their internships were canceled. So this is where it becomes really important. Employers have told us, we understand that things were canceled. We had to cancel them ourselves. Show us what the students know. Show us what they've learned and because we know that if they've learned how to do things, they'll be able to apply that in an industry setting. So for example, that's where that importance of the relevant courses come. If you've learned research methods, if you have taken cellular and molecular biology, if you have taken analytical math courses, put those in there to show those employers you've learned the skills. Another thing you can do is actually add your lab classes into your work experience. And you may look at this and go, what? Why would I do that? This is another thing employers said. If you know some lab skills, you can very easily be taught other lab skills, right? So much of it is having that basis, that really solid foundation. So for example, you can put intro bio lab. Obviously, if you've taken cellular molecular, put that instead. If you're a chem major, put organic over gen chem. But keep in mind, this showcases, again, that you have these skills. So for example, this intro bio lab, micropipetters, slides, microscopes, spectrophotometers, those are fairly basic in the biology scene, but if you know how to do that, you know how to do more advanced things. That fourth bullet is just a lab project or group project, collaborating with a group of the other students. Again, it shows that ability to work as a team and it shows you know how to do a group project. And that last one is a lab report. It shows you know how to write lab reports. You understand how to write that important information. Your experience section on your resume does not have to be just paid experiences. It can be volunteer experience. It can be unpaid internships. It can be community experience. It can be labs. They just want to see what experiences you have that will make you a good candidate for that field. Another thing you can add is academic projects, and these can be independent or group projects. right? So if this was a stats, this could be a stats class. If you did a big presentation in a senior class, put that on there. These are, again, things they want to know your abilities and what you can do. Be creative with your resume. If you're not sure if it fits, ask us, send an email, stop to see our peer advisors, make an appointment with us. We can help you figure out what will work for you. Okay, and to wrap up the resume section part, before we move on to cover letters, be really important, be consistent. You want your resume to showcase, to show that you have the ability to keep everything the same, keep your formatting, your headings the same, make sure your fonts aren't different, your font sizes. Check your spelling. Even if spell check says it's correct, spell check will not get if you spelled a different word, spelled a word in a different version, like there, T-H-E-R-E or T-H-E-I-R. Spell check won't catch that it may not be correct. Or if you capitalize something, it will not catch it because it'll think it is a, it'll think it's the name of something. So make sure you are checking your spelling and having someone take a second look at it, whether it's a roommate, a parent, someone in our office, a friend, have someone take a second look to make sure you're not missing something. And check your verb tenses. If it is something you have already done in the past, so a job you've held in the past, you want your verbs to be past tense. So checked versus check, or assisted versus assist, research versus researched. And if it's something you're currently doing, you want that to be in the present tense. As I mentioned before, keep it to one page if possible. There are always exceptions, but that is our general standard. And use a simple font. You want to make sure it's not too fancy. The fancier the font, if that makes sense, the slower adult learning theory has shown that it slows down the reader by, even if it's a quarter second, half a second, that runs the risk of them not getting to the very bottom of your page before that 30 seconds is up when they scan it. Okay, and I touched on this a little bit earlier, but one of the reasons that we do a very simple, basic format of a resume is because so many companies are now using applicant tracking systems, and or you may hear ATS. These are resume filters that scan resumes that are submitted online to help recruiters narrow those down. And what that means is if a recruiter gets 100 resumes for a job, and they're hiring for multiple jobs, they may not have time to go through each of those 100 resumes with a fine-tooth comb in their first pass. So what they do is they filter these through these applicant tracking systems. And those applicant tracking systems will search for key terms in each of the resume and key qualifications. It allows what it does then, and then it kind of prioritizes them. So if they have 100 resumes, it may go back and say, okay, these are the top 20 we think, take a look at those. Now, many recruiters will still go through those 100, but they will do a first pass with those 20, right? And if you are using, if you have text boxes, tables, columns, photos, graphics, charts, it's really hard for those computers to scan through and find the information they need. It doesn't mean you'll be totally kicked out. It means it will recognize that it's missing something and will make a note to have someone manually look at it. But if a recruiter finds great candidates in that top 20, they may not get to your resume. So for example, when I mentioned columns, the applicant tracking systems literally read left to right. It cannot differentiate between columns. So it will seriously read left to right and will understand that something's not correct here. But just keep a simple Word document format so that you don't get stuck in those applicant tracking systems. It also is a great reminder to use your relevant skills in your resume because they are looking for key terms for your field. Okay, here are a couple things. This is an example of a resume. Take a look for a minute and just take a look and see some things that you would change. Does anyone have a suggestion of something that they see that may not be correct on here?
In the teaching assistant section, you could change it so they all start with action verbs, the bullet points.
Excellent. That's a great one. Yeah. Anyone have another one? Thank you, Isaac.
I noticed that education was at the very bottom instead of at the top.
Absolutely. As a college student, you want your education to be up on top. That's really important. Great one. How about one more? I will say the consistency is really important. So you can see the work experience up on top under Timberlake Camp is a paragraph. So really ideally take that paragraph off and make it into a bullet format anyways. And then start with that bullet, start with the action verb of provided daily arts and take out responsible for. So in the interest of time, I have another one on here, but we're going to skip this one. The one thing I would say here is take off columns. I mean, there's a few things here I would change, but the columns, and this goes back to those applicant tracking systems. You can see when I said that they read left to right, the applicant tracking system and that resume filter would read experience, skills, Hanover Day Camp, Hanover, Ohio counselor, our studio, June 2021, Spanish. So that's really, they're going to recognize that it's not accurate, but again, you don't want to give that resume filter any reason to push you to the bottom of the pile. So always just get rid of those columns to begin with. Okay, really quickly, I just want to touch on a CV. Some of you may have heard of this in the curriculum vitae, and this is a little bit different. Sometimes when someone asks for a CV, they're actually just asking for a resume. Most of the time, actually, when they're asking a college student for a CV, it's just a resume. A resume is what we just talked about. It's required for industry positions, 1 page focusing on your relevant qualifications and experiences. A CV, on the other hand, is usually requested if you're applying to grad school or if you're applying to a pretty heavy duty research position. This is your full work experience. It's comprehensive. It can be 2 pages. In fact, if you look on your department's website, like if you're a B&B major, look on your B&B major under faculty. The faculty usually have their CVs posted on their website, and they can be 15 to 20 pages long. It has every single thing ever done in your field, which is why it's pretty unusual for a college student to have a CV. Some of the example fields in a CV are not just your identifying information and your education, but any presentation you've done, including a poster presentation, if you had any grants, if you've been published anywhere, if you have any special awards, if you attended any conferences, all this information that again is unusual. Occasionally there are students that have it, but this is something to keep in mind. If they ask for a CV, you can ask them if a resume would suffice, or just feel free to know that you aren't limited by that 1 page resume. You can add more information and go into a little more details about things. Okay, so any questions on resumes I didn't get to before we jump into cover letters? And this won't take us long, this will be done quickly. Okay, if you have any resume questions, again, feel free to put them in the chat or you can save them for the end. A cover letter, back when things were literally submitted over in the mail, a cover letter was actually just that. It was a letter that covered your resume to introduce your resume. So it expressed a candidate's interest and qualifications for position. It matched the skills, and really it doesn't replace the resume or repeat the resume, but it expands on it. So think of the cover letter as telling your story. It's really your bridge from the job description that says what they're looking for, and it bridges you to your resume that says what you've done in the past. So it allows you to connect your resume or your skills that you've already done, that you have, to what you know you could do in this position. So it really is your chance to advocate for yourself. And I don't really like the term sell your qualifications, but that really is what it is. It really is your chance to say, hey, this is who I am, this is what I've done, and this is why I know I would be a good fit for your position. When you're writing a cover letter, the most important thing to do is take a look at that job description and either highlight or circle or just take notes on a piece of paper and look at everything important in their posting. So for example, if you are an international student, you want to make sure that they accept OPT or CPT. If you want to make sure you're fulfilling any qualifications. So if it says you must be a senior, or it says you must have 2 years of research, you're going to want to say in your cover letter, I am a senior at UMass Amherst, or I have 2 years of research experience, right? So look at everything that's important, because these are the key terms they're going to be looking for in your cover letter. You can see here in this sample research communications internship that we highlighted, the word research is done, I think it's 7, 8, 9 times in here. So whoever is writing a cover letter for this position really needs to talk about their interest in research, and either their research experience or their ability to do research in the future. So every job is going to get their own cover letter. Keep that in mind. It does make a difference. It takes a little bit more time. Sometimes it takes a lot more time, but it's much more effective to write 10 cover letters for jobs than to send 100 resumes out without a cover letter that's personalized. So what you're going to do is take those things you highlighted over on the previous page, like the words research, and this one here, the words research or climate change or environmental sustainability. Highlight those here and then just make notes to yourself. What do you have that matches, right? If you use, make sure you're putting the word research. If they put the word climate change in there, you should talk about your interest in climate change or a project you did in climate change or something you studied on climate change in one of your environmental science courses. So you want to make sure you are matching that, play that match game. Make sure you're addressing everything in that cover letter. And this is a sample cover letter here. These are also on our website on that same page. If you go to resumes and cover letters, just scroll down a little bit, there's a section on cover letters and these samples are there too. So up on the top, we use business format. So this kind of goes against your normal academic writing. You don't indent your paragraphs. Everything is left justified and you put a space in between your paragraphs. Up on the top is going to be your return contact information, the date, so they know that this is a fresh cover letter. You're going to then put the name and job title to who you're sending it to. Sometimes companies have that hidden. You can just put internship coordinator, recruiting team, try to find a name if possible, but many companies don't make that easy. And then you are going to, that first paragraph is going to introduce yourself. Make sure you put the title of the internship or job title that you're looking for in the company. So I'm applying to work as a volunteer for the Massachusetts Water Watch. I am a first-year student at UMass Amherst. Really, it's just 3 or 4 sentences that introduce you and who you are. And let them know how you found that internship as well. Those middle 2 to 3 paragraphs are where you're going to take those highlighted words and expand on those. So you can use your classroom experiences. If that's what you have. You can use summer internships, volunteering, anything that shows how you make that connection. So here on the left, this is a separate job description. The one in the gray on the left-hand side of the page is the job description. So you can see here highlighted, this one is bolded. Students will collect, identify, and analyze samples. So this sample cover letter, the student in the second paragraph talked about doing that in their lab classes. In my lab classes, I regularly practice collecting pond water samples, analyzing them to identify, etc. If you don't put that you have experience doing something or you're interested in doing something, they will assume that you don't have it. If there are minimum qualifications you need to reach, make sure that is indicated in your cover letter and or resume that you meet those minimum qualifications. Very, very important. You want to make sure you're not repeating your resume again, but you're expanding on it. So have 2 to 3 paragraphs talking about those experiences and how you match what you're looking for. Okay, make sure you show your enthusiasm. Sometimes you don't have to be the most qualified candidate, especially right now when things are a little bit short-staffed in many fields. They're looking for people who are motivated, excited to work for them. So you do have to fulfill their minimum qualifications, right? But if they say prefer 2 years of research and you don't have 2 years of research, go for it. That means they don't always expect to get everything they're looking for. Sometimes they're going to reach for the stars. But if you can show that you're excited and enthusiastic and have work ethic and have problem-solving skills, you are much more likely to get in there and get that interview where you can then show them your skills. So these are a couple examples on how you can show that enthusiasm. You know, as a junior math major, my career goals align with the mission of your lab. This is a great opportunity for me to combine my passion for modeling through your program. If you have met with a recruiter, talk to someone, know someone in that field, this is where you can use those networking skills. You don't think of this as name dropping, right? You don't want to talk about, I know 6, 7, 8 people here, but it shows that you researched the company and made that connection. So if you know someone who works for that company, ask them if it's okay for you to mention them in your cover letter. Can you, this shows, it's not, don't think of it as name dropping, think of it as networking and talking to that person about this position. So you can say, I've spoken with an alumni from my program, Erin Charawati, who talked about how they really enjoy working in your office, and I think it would be a great fit for me. Employers love networking and they love when you have a connection because it's one more person who can vouch for you. You're not so much an unknown entity. If the person that you know is a hard worker and a strong employee for them, the chances are you will be too. So make sure that's where networking can come in. And I'll talk about that in a different session another time, but it's a really helpful way when you're doing your job and internship search. This is kind of box that shows out a little more details. Show your connection or interest in the organization. If they have been in a recent news article, if they've been in the news, if you have gone to their website, not just the front page of their website, but go and really in-depth know information, they will be impressed if it shows that you have taken the extra step who has done something there. If you shadowed a physician, if you're pre-med or pre-health, make sure you mention that. If you've talked to other alums, anytime thing again to show that you're not just reaching out and applying to 10 different jobs, which we know you're applying to 10 different jobs, right? That's important to stretch and not put all your eggs in one basket, but you want them to read this and go, wow, Erin really wants this job, not just any job. Show that you've gone above and beyond in applying to this position. And just like the resume, we can review your cover letters in our office, or we have a lot of resources on our website too that will help you with your resume and cover letter. Okay, keep in mind every job gets their own cover letter. You want to vary it. And just like the resume, keep it professional but enthusiastic and keep it to one page. You do not need a cover letter that's over one page. If it's that long, they will probably not read that second page, which means they're not even going to get to your conclusion, talking about why you are a good fit for that. We also have, just want to mention that on our website, we also have a lot of workshop recordings. So if you are interested, we have a little bit more in depth on resumes, cover letters, finding internships, career fairs, etc. And we are building more into those. We're going to be adding more as the semester goes on. Any questions on cover letters before I move to a couple last minute housekeeping things? We'll have some time for questions, and let me just do these last. The upcoming career boot camp for juniors, thank you all for attending today. We have 2 more coming up. Again, you are also always welcome to attend the ones for seniors. There's one tomorrow on job search strategies. And sophomores, one next week is on resume writing again, if you want a little refresher from my colleague, just a different viewpoint as well. You're also welcome to make an appointment. We are here all of break. So I have been seeing students on Zoom and Handshake, depending on the platform, every day. And we are here all of break. And then once classes start up, we will be able to, you can choose Zoom or in person as well. And we'll also have our peer career advisors there too for drop-ins. And let us know, we have a lot of resources on our website. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to email me too, Erin Charawati. So it's just echarawati at umass.edu. I should have that on this slide. I don't. So that is resumes and cover letters. What questions can I answer for you all that I did not get to? I'm going to stop recording.